Question for you, is it okay to observe a player, realize that they remind you of someone else in a positive way, but still not want that player to come out like that other player? Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Jack St. Ivany stood so tall in that preseason game a couple nights ago that I'm completely comfortable overlooking that it was a very bad preseason game, meaning that it was seriously sloppy, meaning that, of course, both the Penguins and the Sabres dressed very, very few NHL-level players, and in Buffalo's case, exactly zero. But you know what you're supposed to do in that setting if you're good? You're supposed to stand out. Kevin Hayes, oldest guy in the game, stood out because he was supposed to stand out. Actually mentioned that to him after the game. He took it well. Avery Hayes, no relation, way, way, way younger, has a lot of potential, and he stood out because he's supposed to stand out. And yet neither of those two was the best player on the ice. That was St. Ivany. And because of the context, rather than try to make that sound significant as a what, I'm going to try to relay that as a why. St. Ivany, plain and simple, didn't just stand out. He stood tall. Regardless of whether he was in the attacking zone, coming up through the neutral zone, or just minding his main business in the defensive zone, he carried himself as if he was in charge, not of his own activity, of the entire 200 by 85. It was really impressive. And take this from somebody who appreciated St. Ivany's work with the Penguins once he joined them last season. This is something else entirely. At least I thought so. That was my own observation. I asked Mike Sullivan for his.
I think for sure. I think he's really developed so well since he's become a Pittsburgh Penguin. And last year when he came up and played NHL games, I thought he fit right in. He defends well. He's long. He has good size. He has good reach. He's mobile. He's physical. He battles at the net front. He plays with it himself. He plays a calculated game. I think this year he comes back to training camp. He's got a whole lot more confidence. I think he has a belief that he's an NHL player, and I think it's showing up in his play. So not just tonight. I thought he was one of the brighter lights in the game from our standpoint. But throughout the course of the camp, I think he's really shown that he's capable of playing at this level.
Oh yeah, all of that and then some. And at the same time, it's just as easy to love the kid's intangibles. Look, if I'm sitting here right now drawing up a depth chart, or for that matter, a lines and pairings chart for the opener against the Rangers, he's on that in indelible ink. And I'm not even hesitating. It goes Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson with the top two spots, regardless of the order. And then St. Ivany. That's it. That's your RHD right there. But to hear the kids say it, you'd think he was part of some, 14 D-man battle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard to not get caught up in it, but I'm trying my best just to not count numbers and just, focus on my own game. I feel like, tons of competition in here, and, the old saying, iron sharpens iron. So, we're all just getting better in here, and I know that everybody's coming to the rink working their hardest, and it doesn't matter who you are. I think everybody knows their spot's available, and everyone's pushing for one of them.
Impressive, right? Okay. Well, now comes my comparison point that I'd rather not see him fulfill. He reminds me, guys, so much of the rookie version of John Marino when the Penguins had him. Exceedingly smart, exceedingly poised, but also capable, more than capable, actually, at both ends of the rink. And yet the reason I wouldn't want to see him go the full Marino is that, listen, as much as I like John, he plateaued. He went flat. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Yeah, he had a blip when he went to Newark and was placed into the Devils' really up-tempo system and could use those wheels, and he ran up some really nice statistics, both conventional and in the advanced analytics. But that hasn't remained the norm for him, just like it didn't remain the norm for him in Pittsburgh. And what I'm not going to do is try to psychoanalyze someone who's not been around for a while. I could talk all day about his first couple of years in Pittsburgh and what I thought of him then and how he thought the game. I have no idea what that is now. But I do know that this young man, St. Ivany, who's here now, has the opportunity to do all of that and not plateau for the foreseeable future. When we come back, J1Q. Back. Good amount of feedback to yesterday's episode on Rutger McGroarty, in which, in addition to the interview that I did with him and shared, I also put forth my view that he'd benefit from some time in the American Hockey League. I'm not going to lie, I expected some pushback to that. Really didn't get any, including this from Mike, who said, Brian Rust started the 2015-16 season in the AHL, played 16 games there. Jake Gensel started the 2016-17 season in the AHL, played 33 games there. Starting in the American League isn't the end of the world, right? No, it's not. It's not. Now, if you take someone, first overall, and that player is seen as some sort of generational or whatever, I'm stretching it here, but very, very good player, and they don't make it onto your main roster out of camp, it's seen as a significant, I don't want to say setback, but it's a disappointment in the moment. But that's also the difference between drafting a Connor Bedard and drafting a Nail Yakupov. They've also got to be ready for the rigors, for the physical stuff. Or they're going to get ragdolled the way Jack Hughes did as a rookie in Newark. So where McGroarty's concerned, you're not just looking at his age, the fact that he's 20 years old, a year older than Brayden Yager, and you're not just looking at his frame, which to see the kid is NHL level right this minute. But there's a gap between college hockey and minor league hockey. College, obviously, everybody's right around the same age. And when you go pro, you're going against a lot of grown-ups, hungry grown-ups, trying really, really hard to still make it to the NHL. And there are challenges in the American League that you're not going to see in college. Heck, if we're being honest here, there's some challenges you'll face in the minors that you won't face in the NHL either, but that's another story. So if you look, for example, at the line combinations yesterday at practice, you'll see that McGroarty was skating with exactly who you'd expect he'd be skating with at this phase of the camp. I didn't count that far, but it was like the 6th or the 7th line. And he was alongside other guys who probably won't make the team out of camp. So the Penguins saw it in advance, afforded him all kinds of opportunity, continued to afford him that opportunity, where you can even call it exposure. And no, it's not a big deal. Nor, by the way, is it a big deal when specifically he makes it up within the coming season. At least that's how I see it. What'd be way more important is that he's put into a position, as I'm sure he will be in Wilkes-Barre, where he can do top 6 things, be on the top power play, be held accountable for all of his two-way play and anything else that they might assign to him as a role, But ultimately, when you bring him up, you got to have him ready to contribute on a scoring line. I don't think this is going to be, let's just say, a Sam Poulin type case where Sam, regardless of how many goals he'd score in the minors, would always come up and be asked to handle, 4 or 5 minutes on the fourth line of just basically skating in circles and not doing anything bad. That's not this. And it's been so long since the Penguins have had a legitimate prospect that A, you yourself had to go all the way back to Rustin Gensel, and B, maybe we all need to be reminded that there's an intelligent way to do this. The goal is not to have him in the NHL. The goal is to have him in the NHL in the role you want him to fill. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. Going to have one more of these tomorrow.